Tammy shook, tears filling her eyes, as she clutched the picture in her hands. The image showed her husband and her first dog together, smiling and happy. Reliving the memories, she couldn't hold back her tears. One night, her husband didn't make back at home. Rainwater had filled the road. He'd been going too fast and he lost control of his car, tumbling over the edge of a cliff. The news had been heartbreaking, and even now the memory caused immense pain. When she first received the call, Tammy froze. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. The hospital had made a mistake. They'd called the wrong person, or mixed up her husband with someone else. However, once she drove to the hospital to see her husband, there was no denying the situation. He was dead. Tammy was terrified and heartbroken, but she couldn't collapse yet. Somehow, she had to tell her daughter that her father wouldn't be returning home. Tammy's daughter, Sally, was just 4 years old when the accident occurred. Her mom tried to explain what happened, but she was far too young to grasp the situation. Though she understood her father wouldn't return home, she couldn't figure out why her dad would leave. Tammy struggled to figure out what to do. She tried her best to explain the situation to her daughter, but Sally still didn't grasp what she was being told and couldn't stop asking why her dad wouldn't come back. After a while, Sally's questions died down. Tammy had been hoping for this, but now that her daughter stopped, it only hurt her more. Sally started to become quiet, far too quiet for a girl her age. Sally's behavior drastically changed after time passed by without her dad returning. She was quiet and no longer was the happy little child Tammy once knew. All she wanted was to see her daddy again, and she was crushed when she learned that wasn't possible. Sally pretty much stopped talking altogether after her dad's death. But that wasn't all. Sally began to suffer from night terrors every night that started somewhere between 10 p.m. and 12 a.m. After suffering from horrible nightmares for a few nights in a row, Sally chose to stop sleeping altogether. No matter what her mom did, Sally refused to sleep and would cry and scream if her mom tried to make her go to bed by herself. Tammy spent most of the time awake with her daughter, trying to convince her to sleep however she could. Tammy tried reading stories. When that didn't work, she made up her own. They even watched cartoons while lying in bed to try and distract Sally. Despite everything they tried, Sally couldn't sleep. Tammy was exhausted and groggy as the morning approached. She felt like a bad mother, unable to help her daughter sleep and unsure how to fix the situation. Tammy knew Sally must have trauma after her father's death, especially because she didn't fully understand what happened. But even if that were the only problem, Tammy wasn't sure what she could do about it. Days passed, and Tammy was still unable to come up with an answer. How does one help a child understand something so devastating, and what could she do as her mother to help? Was there even anything to do, or was she stuck just watching her daughter wither away? Feeling useless, Tammy turned to the internet to help. She searched online for discussion boards and blogs where people discussed their own and their children's trauma and how to handle it. Unfortunately, that only made her more confused. There were so many different suggestions for many different situations, and she was overwhelmed. Where should she start, and what would only make things worse for her daughter? She didn't know for sure, and the worry of making the wrong choice paralyzed her. Tammy felt on the edge of a breakdown. She needed support, so she turned to her friend Amanda, confiding in her about the whole situation. Though she mostly wanted to vent, she also hoped her friend would find a solution to the problem. She couldn't do it on her own anymore. It was too much. Thankfully, Amanda knew exactly how to help. After hearing the whole story, Amanda reassured Tammy and pointed her in the right direction. Amanda was a child psychologist. Childhood trauma was an area she had a lot of experience in, and she'd handled many children during this difficult part of their lives. Because of her experience, she'd seen or used all of the methods Tammy talked about online, and she knew which ones would work best. After Tammy finished her story, Amanda sat with Tammy. Gently, she told Tammy ways she would have handled the situation differently. She also explained methods she should start practicing. Amanda advised Tammy that getting Sally a pet would be the most beneficial action. She specifically recommended a dog. A dog would provide Sally with a loyal listener, allowing her to share her feelings with someone who would always be there. Additionally, the connection Sally would build with the dog could help mend the emotional emptiness she currently feels. This new companionship would offer support and bring comfort and joy to Sally's life. Tammy thanked her friend for the advice and headed home, though she deeply considered what was said. Before Jake passed away, he and Tammy had talked about the situation. Jake believed that Sally was mature enough to handle the responsibility and would appreciate the companionship. However, Tammy couldn't help but question if it was truly the best decision. She reflected on whether Jake's judgment was accurate, and if Sally would indeed thrive in the new role. Tammy had spent a week pondering her decision. When Saturday morning arrived, she was finally sure of what to do. She made a special breakfast for her daughter and shared the exciting news as they ate. Sally's face lit up with a genuine smile for the first time in weeks. Delighted by the surprise, she was eager to start their journey, and so they set off together. However, their adventure proved more challenging than expected. Tammy and Sally visited 4 nearby animal shelters, checking out all the dogs available for adoption. Despite their search, Sally wasn't happy with any of them. Tammy was puzzled and initially thought Sally wanted a puppy. They found some, but Sally rejected those too. Tammy wondered why Sally wasn't satisfied with any of the dogs they saw. What could be the reason behind Sally's unhappiness with all the options? Seeing Sally's sadness, Tammy decided to visit one final shelter. Though it was farther away, she would have driven any distance just to see her daughter's joyful smile once more. They walked through the shelter with Tammy hoping and silently praying that Sally would choose a puppy this time. Despite their search, they had no luck finding the right match. Just as they were about to leave, something surprising happened. As Sally and her companion were ready to leave the shelter, a person walked in and placed a box on the counter. Driven by her natural curiosity, Sally stood on her tiptoes to peer inside. To her delight, she discovered a tiny husky puppy nestled within. The sight of the adorable little dog immediately warmed her heart. Overwhelmed with affection, Sally scooped up the puppy and held him close to her chest, unable to resist the bond forming between them. The woman at the counter tried to stop the little girl, but it was clear a special bond had already formed. Tammy explained their situation and pleaded with her to let them take the puppy home. Initially hesitant, the woman was deeply moved by the touching connection between the girl and the puppy. In the end, her compassion prevailed, and she agreed to let them keep the puppy, ensuring a happy ending for both. Feeling a wave of relief, the couple and their new puppy made their way home. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Tammy began preparing dinner right away. Meanwhile, Sally went upstairs to set up a cozy bed for their new furry friend. Throughout the day, she wore a radiant smile, and Tammy was overjoyed. Little did she know, an unexpected surprise was just around the corner, waiting to add even more joy to their evening. When dinner was ready, Tammy called out for her daughter, but there was no answer. Panic set in as she called again, only to be met with silence. Terrified, Tammy set aside everything and began a frantic search. She couldn't understand why her daughter wasn't responding. Had something terrible happened? Where could she have gone? Tammy was determined to find answers and bring her daughter back safely. The fear drove her to act quickly and search thoroughly. Tammy's first stop was Sally's bedroom, and what she saw made her stop in her tracks. There on the bed were Sally and the puppy, both soundly asleep. Seeing them so peaceful filled Tammy with joy. For the first time since her husband's passing, she felt real relief. Finally, she could expect a good night's sleep, knowing her daughter would rest well too. This moment of calm was a precious gift for them both. Tammy had jumped to conclusions a bit too early. She went to bed around 10 p.m., but a couple of hours later, she was suddenly jolted awake by loud, frantic barking. Initially, she assumed it was one of her neighbor's dogs causing the commotion. However, she quickly recalled that her neighbors had recently gotten a new puppy, and it dawned on her that it might be this new puppy who was making all the noise and disturbing her sleep. After Tammy suddenly realized what was happening, she jumped out of bed and rushed to her daughter's room. There, she discovered the little puppy sitting on the floor, barking loudly toward the bed. Despite the noise, Sally remained sound asleep, completely unfazed. However, this did not address the issue at hand. Tammy was puzzled why was the puppy barking so persistently, and how could she manage to stop him from causing such a commotion? Tammy gently lifted the puppy and placed him back on the bed. She softly petted his fur for a few moments, and soon he stopped barking and drifted off to sleep. Satisfied with calming him down, Tammy rose from the bed, determined to uncover the reason for the chaos. She was resolved to solve the mystery, even if it took everything she had. However, despite her efforts, she found no sign of what might have caused the disturbance. The following night, the same routine unfolded. Sally and her puppy went to bed around 8 p.m. and slept deeply. Tammy went to bed at 10 p.m. and also enjoyed a peaceful sleep for a few hours. However, just after midnight, the puppy started barking again. The barking continued until Tammy soothed him by rubbing him gently, helping him fall back asleep. This pattern seemed to repeat with the same challenges each night. For the next month, Tammy noticed the same strange occurrence happening every night at the exact same time. This repetitive event made her curious about its cause. She carefully investigated the situation from every possible angle. After thorough examination, Tammy discovered that the puppy was waking up at the same hour Sally used to wake up. This led her to wonder if there was something about that particular time that was unsettling for both of them. Tammy spent several nights vigilantly keeping watch outside the room, determined to uncover the secret behind the mysterious behavior. She was eager to understand what was causing the unusual occurrences and how she might be able to stop them. Despite her efforts, she found no clues. Each time the puppy barked, Tammy was present, yet she remained the only external presence in the room. Or was there something else she was not seeing? The situation was unusual, and Tammy realized that simply standing guard wouldn't reveal the secret. She understood that to find the answer she so desperately needed, she would have to take a different approach. Despite the challenges, the young mother was resolute. Her determination was unwavering, and she was prepared to go to any lengths to uncover the truth for the sake of her daughter. Tammy's resolve drove her to explore alternative methods, knowing that her daughter's well-being depended on it. The next morning, Tammy contacted a security company to install hidden cameras throughout her house, especially in her daughter's bedroom. She emphasized the importance of this room. The team worked quickly, and within hours, the setup was complete. Tammy felt relieved, knowing she was closer to uncovering the truth, but she also felt anxious. What would the cameras reveal by the next morning? Was she truly prepared to face whatever secrets they might uncover? Tammy woke up early, immediately reaching for her phone to review the camera footage. At first glance, she saw nothing, which confused her. She replayed the footage, focusing more intently this time. That's when she noticed a crucial detail. Her puppy wasn't barking at the bed, but rather at something beneath it. What was hidden there that had caught her puppy's attention? Tammy felt a mix of curiosity and apprehension about what she might discover.